What's up, nerds? Welcome back to the channel. We are in Paul's new office. This is our new working space, and we're going to be talking about kayak motors. Specifically, these four. We got the Motorguide XI3, Newport NK 180, and 300.
Well, the 180 Pro, 300, the Bixpy, the new one.
K1 with both batteries. And what we want to do is we want to solve the problem. What if you're considering adding a specific kayak motor, like one of these, to your kayak? Which one do you pick? There's so many options out there, and how do you know which one's the best ones? So there's a lot of opinions out there, and not all of them are objective. Most of them are subjective. At this point, we've used all these motors on multiple different vessels, and we can give you some really good feedback on this. So we came up with a rating system for this. We call it the AAA value stack.
Soon to be trademarked.
It's a prototype.
Yeah, it's a working thing, right? So we're trying to figure out how do we figure out how to mathematically, using our experience, tell you what the best rating is on something like this where you've got a lot of options, a lot of things to consider. We're going to test drive it for you guys today. So please let us know how you feel about it. Leave a comment and say, that was silly. You got this one wrong. You got that one right. And we're just going to workshop it until it's perfect for y'all.
So we're going to look at the batteries that go along with these motors as well, and whether or not you can use your own by any brand that you want, or if you have to use the one specifically, the proprietary battery that goes with that motor. What we will not be including in this list would be any DIY options or transom mounts.
Hardcore DIY options. You have to DIY some of this to some degree, but if you're going to buy this motor, home make this battery, go find this from ChinaExpress.com, that's not the type of stuff we're talking about. We're talking about MSRP pricing, what's readily available to most people, and then just, again, MSRP pricing as it equates to what you see here and what you can get on the marketplace.
And again, not including basic transom mount motors either. These are specifically designed to mount right to any kayak out there on the market right now. So here's how we're going to rate them. It's going to look like this. This is our chart. We got 5 categories that we're rating them on, and we're scoring them out of 5. It's just the easiest way to do this.
We will not be going through trigonometry today. It's 1 through 5. 1 is not as good. 5 is the best it can be in this scenario. Using the same scale that we've used over a long period of time, what was their score? What was their thoughts on it? Then maybe you don't even have to go watch the whole video. You can just go to the website, check it out.
It's really important for us to let you guys know and be completely transparent with you that on this channel, being sent something doesn't buy you a top rating. That's never going to happen. We're always going to be honest and transparent with you guys. So companies know that. We let them know ahead of time. And if they're cool with it, which they should be, because they should stand on that business and believe in their product, they send it to us anyways. If you don't see a product featured on here, or you asked us to review something and we haven't reviewed it still, might be because we didn't feel like buying it and that company didn't feel like sending it. Is what it is. Maybe in the future we'll get a chance to check it out.
High risk, high reward. If you're a company, you believe in your stuff, send it to us. You get what you get. If you don't send it to us.
Here's the 5 categories: aesthetics, innovation, performance, quality, and then relative costs. So Bixpy makes a whole bunch of different adapters. Mainly, you have this motor component right here. So this is the Bixpy K1 motor. This is the current existing version. The previous one was the J1, I believe. You can see that we've used the heck out of it. It's pretty bashed up. You can purchase many different adaptive options for whatever kayak, SUP, inflatable, anything. It will fit on there. You can make it work.
It's one of the biggest draws on the Bixpy is that you can put it on, we put it on an inflatable kayak because they have a special adapter that works for SUPs and paddle boards and all that, and it slides right in versus these other motors, they just can't compete with that.
So first off, aesthetically, we think this blue anodized, I believe aluminum that they're using is so killer. This looks good on anything you set it up. So we have rudder mounted this on an Old Town. We've power pole mounted the 4-bolt pattern.
And the nice thing is that everything matches. Check out the control module. It's that, blue and kind of like a cream color. Check out that battery. It's like the black and blue. It all just looks really, really clean.
You have your smaller proprietary battery, which is super lightweight as well. Doesn't look bad either, and kind of just tucks out of the way anyways. Slide it under your seat.
It is really clean. And that also speaks to size, the size of the battery, the size of the motor. It's very easy to hide this battery in the nook and cranny of either a crate or next to a crate or behind your seat or under your seat or anywhere. It's really simple. So that's kind of what's falling under aesthetics. That is actually, they both got a 5 for us. I think they look stellar. The way that they're designed, they operate shape-wise, the physical characteristics of them, they also get a 5 from that component as well.
Yep. Bixpy aesthetics, 5 out of 5. Next up on the innovation, because of their modularity, if you go to their website, I don't care what vessel you are operating, they have an adapter for it. This is your push-pull steering system right right
And
there.
it's really easy.
It
All
just
you do,
screws
it's
into
designed
that.
for those. So you just screw this in, and then you can extend this out. But you can pull this out quite a right. So this is about 7 feet.
So that's pretty dang long. That's cool.
And I will say that that mount is one of the best ones because to turn left and right, you just move it a very small amount, and then it rests right next to you, ready for your next steering. Now, they get a 5 for us too because the modularity is just so high. Also, the size and weight. These are a lot lighter than these other options. You don't need as much mounting bracket or hardware, or steering hardware, or pull cables, or all the other stuff.
So we gave that a 5 out of 5 on innovation. Next up is performance. So now we get out there, we actually operate the dang thing. Bixpy is relatively slower.
It's comparable to the XI3. Now, this depends on what kayak you get on, the shape of the hull, the weather that's out there. So this is our collective experience. I've had the Bixpy on a couple of inflatables and a couple of different kayaks. So when I had the Bixpy on the back of that Old Town PDL 106, so it's a 10'6" kayak, I was able to get about 3.5 to 4.5 miles per hour from the Bixpy when it was just the Bixpy and me, and not like a ton of stuff, but not nothing, like a medium load. If I pedaled with the Bixpy, I was able to get up to 6. Now that was a max speed. So on the inflatables, I was getting around 4.5 to 5.5 on the inflatable. So
Performance-wise, no, it is not as fast as the rest of these. It's just the slowest of the 4 that we're talking about today. That is very relative. Like, it's not that much slower than the XI3.
Nope.
It's not really built for cooking across the lake.
it's built for modularity.
But it'll move, yeah.
And it's built to just get you moving.
So overall in performance, because it is slower than any of these other ones for, you know, a relatively similar high investment as compared to many things out
You
there.
get the 4.
It gets a 4 out of 5.
Which is good.
It's good. It's
very
just not as fast. And you got to know that before you get into it.
100%.
Depends on how fast you want to go. All right, so we talked about performance. Let's go to the next category to rate, which is quality. And this is extremely important to us because you can have something that looks really nice and performs like crap or vice versa. And we need to know that.
And you don't want to pay for something and find out that the quality's bad after you bought it.
Oh, 100%. That is the worst.
That is the worst.
So let's look at the Bixpy. With the Bixpy, we have broken it twice. In fact, it is the only point of frustration we have dealt with the Bixpy is that we can break it seems, very easily. Otherwise, everything else has been fantastic. Customer service has been great. They've been a great company to talk with and work with.
Now, when it's in the water working on its own, it's phenomenal. Where we ran into issues was, one, we ran aground with it, which is not a small thing. We definitely bashed the crap out of it.
All right, so what we did to fix that is we had to go with the micro cage here. So if you do pick up a Bixpy K1, one thing I'll tell you is this is $20. Just
get it, period.
Immediately get it.
Immediately get it.
Don't even think about it. Just get it. So grass, rocks, dirt, whatever. The first day we did it, I must have just dragged it in the dirt and the muck, and like some rocks got in there. It started getting really loud, and it turns out that we broke something internally in there. So we sent it to Bixpy. This is where customer service comes into play.
Actually, I got a better story about customer service, but yes, they handled that instantly.
It was a very quick turnaround, but the second time that we broke it was actually this.
Well, it's a smaller version of this cable, so a really thin version of the retractor cable. This is totally my fault. I usually clip it onto a carabiner so it's not dangling in the water. I didn't do that. I went in reverse. That cable got sucked into the prop and it damaged one of the components inside the motor. But yes, quality, we have had some issues. Now, the rest of the Bixpy, quality-wise, is insanely good. Every quality in every other way has been great. I think there's 1 or 2 components that we've ran into trouble with, but otherwise, everything's been awesome.
All of this holds up really well. It's very durable.
Very good.
So overall, though, quality is a 3 out of 5 for us for the fact that we keep breaking the most important part. We've just found that you have to be more careful with this motor.
Next up is relative cost. Basically saying across the spectrum of comparable products that are in the same category, pretty much what you see here on the table, because there's not really that many
Plus
more out there.
Torqeedo, which we don't have.
It is the same price and same componentry with some changes as the NKs. But when you do all that comparison of things that are comparable, how does it rank? We gave the Bixpy, because it is the least expensive, the small battery got a 5 and the mid battery got a 4. And we included mounting hardware. We made an allowance with the Bixby. It's a kind of a high allowance. We call it $300 for anything that you would need to buy for adapters to mount this to whatever you're trying to mount to. Usually it's way less than that, but we gave it a general kind of conservative number, and it is the cheapest. So this is just straight across the board math problem. Bixby was the cheapest. It gets a 5 and a 4.
Overall, again, keeping in mind there's like 2 versions of this that we're scoring. The Bixpy, we're calling it the Bixpy Small. It's the small battery version of this. Gets 22 out of 25, or an 88%.
Out of the total. Very good.
Out of the total, which is really good. And then the Bixpy with the big battery, and this is mostly just going to come down to like the cost in general and stuff, but it's 21 out of 25, which is 84%.
So they're neck and neck.
All right, y'all. So next up, we're going to the Motorguide XI3, which I'm going to lift and show for you once because it ain't light. The Motorguide XI3, it has a different prop on it. We'll talk about that in a bit. There you go. This is also the Pinpoint GPS edition. Overall, this is a bow mount only option for kayaks. It is a 36-inch shaft.
It also has a quick connect system for removing it from the kayak and attaching it, which is why you can see it here so
Breaking
easily.
my rules already.
There you go. Right there, it's that plate right there at the bottom. You pull this out, thing hole pops out. It's pretty sweet.
And then it has a foot pedal that you won't be stepping on because it's at the front of your kayak.
Yep. Jeff, let's talk about aesthetics. So this is taking into account the size, the clunkiness, the way it sort of operates just in general, and then obviously the way that it looks as well. So we gave it a 3. The reason we gave it a 3 is because just the general size. It's quite large.
Bulk and clunk.
Yeah, bulk and clunk, but that's it. Otherwise, it looks really good. It operates very cleanly once you have it on your kayak, and it's actually very convenient with the quick disconnect to pull it off and do your loading and unloading, because that's a lot of weight coming off the boat. Really helps you out, actually.
I will say the aesthetics could be higher on kayak. So this is like an average aesthetic score of 3 out of 5. I would put it at like a 4 out of 5 on the Titan X or any kayak that has a battery box, because you can tuck the battery away. That obviously makes the aesthetics better because you don't have this big old thing just sitting out on the deck. On my new canoe, this sits out in the back of the boat. On my Titan X, it gets tucked inside the hull of the boat, which is kind of cool.
Yes, you can put it into a crate. You can put it in a battery box. There are options for you, but then you have to go buy those things, and they don't just come with it. So the general aesthetics, we gave it a 3. It's good, but it's not the best. After that, we went to innovation. This for us was a unanimous 5 because having spot lock, the pinpoint system, is phenomenal. And then being
I have no anchors anymore. I don't take my anchors anymore at all.
And then the ability to be able to control yourself while standing is, you got to be careful, because you'll push a button, it'll just stop you or swing you really fast, and you could get dumped.
It's when you drop the pinpoint. So if you do your spot lock and you're standing, sit, because it will shoot you out.
It'll toss you. The innovation, it gets the 5.
I mean, there's no other better way to do it. I'd say like this is a good affordable option. Anyways, I think it's pretty sweet. Moving on.
So let's talk about performance. So how well does it work as it was designed or intended to be designed? We gave it a 4.
So to break it down for you, it all comes down to the prop. Actually,
the spinny part.
Yeah. So it performs really well otherwise. It's built like a freaking tank, so that's cool. The problem has been the prop. So the prop, the original included prop, is just like has a locking nut, and it's a bit smaller. So that one gets hung up in the weeds so easy. I found myself constantly having to lift it out, dry run the motor, which you don't really want to do that much, and it kicks all the weeds off, or reaching up and having to pluck them all out.
You cut your hand off.
It got extremely annoying, so I opted to go with a different prop. They've got 2 options. Number 1 is the Katana, which is the prop that you saw. It's 2 blades. It's bigger diameter. It cuts through weeds like nobody's business.
Not even my business.
No, nobody's. They say that you lose speed. It's not noticeable. And so I will sacrifice that speed to be able to just slice through weeds any day of the week. It's fantastic. So the second option you can go with is the Eliminator hub. So you use the original included prop. You take the Eliminator from Motorguide, which I believe is 40 or 50 bucks, and then you just screw that on. It kind of replaces that locking nut, and that prevents a lot of that grass from getting inside the actual
wrapped around it
rotating mechanism of the prop, which is why it stops running or slows down a lot or gets rumbly. So that is cool too. You can go with both options. I have both. I prefer the Katana. This blade is fantastic. I love that prop. However, because it's an aftermarket thing that you have to do, it's going to obviously knock the performance score down to a 4 out of a 5, which is still really good because it does a great job. As far as speed goes for the XI3, you can get about 4 to 4.5 miles an hour. 4.5 is cooking. That is with like no wind or current against me. And it is probably not on my native Titan X. It is on the Unlimited. New Canoe Unlimited, even if it's loaded down, I can get around 4.5 miles an hour. On the native Titan X, you're talking more like 3.5 to 3.8. Much slower because it's a barge that is just dragging butt through
it's shockingly,
the water.
It's still shockingly fast though. I'll be running next to Jeff, and yes, he's a little bit slower than me, but still, I'm like, with all the stuff you got, with all the stuff you have in that boat, with all the performance that you get when you get to your spot, and the battery life, I'm always like really impressed with the XI3. So it's pretty nice. Next up is quality. This one was a no-brainer. It's a 5.
It's a 5. I have run into so many trees, logs, rocks. I mean,
works exactly as intended.
It's freaking built like a tank. I am not nice to it either, and I used it every single trip this whole year. I used it.
Relative cost cost is the last one. So again, this is just a math problem. How much does it cost with all the things you need to get it operating the way you want on your boat? So this includes katana, battery, wiring kit. The wiring kit is a pain in the neck, quick connect system, all that, motor, et cetera, et cetera. So everything to get on, $2,000 is roughly what it costs overall to get it all. You can use your own battery, which is great, so you can save some money there. We're using the Power Queen, which is
the cheapest battery you can really get.
It's been really good too.
$200. I have 2 of them. It adds up quick. The wiring and all of that is around $350 to $450, depending on where you get it from. I got a kit from Native that was $599.
But you can buy them on your own, all the components on Amazon. So we're taking that into account. $2,000 the total cost. It gets a 3, which is a little bit of a burn. So overall,
sick burn,
bro. The total score here is going to be 20 out of the possible 25. Gets you 80%. Still a great score. And obviously, we've talked about it. Our reviews are very high in the Motorguide. You can make the decision for yourself. We're just giving the overall value. So very good value.
At this point, this would be the only time we really do like a comparison. We get a lot of questions when people are looking at Newport and they're like, should I get the NK180 Pro or just go for the 300? The price difference is like $400. So it's not that much for what you get. So here's a difference in size that you guys can see. The 300 is noticeably heavier and bulkier all around, right? You can even see their little skeg fin way down there.
Significantly bulkier.
You also get this hydrofoil though, which is kind of sick. That acts almost like a skeg or a rudder and really helps with speed and direction.
Especially if you're in a new canoe.
Yeah, if you're in a new canoe unlimited, it eliminates the spinning and skating all over the lake. And then here's the 180, which is just a straight pull and a much smaller size motor. It is definitely lighter.
So let's talk about the NK180 Pro. We'll go through our rankings. I'm going to try and be brief. You guys already know the setup here. First of all, let's talk aesthetics. So this includes the controller unit. This includes all the hardware that's associated with it. The original bracket that came with it, not the new canoe one, which I think he looks even better. But yeah, let's talk about all of that. So it gets a 5. Everything looks great.
Straight up.
Everything's just phenomenal. It looks good. The bulkiness is very small. It's very unobtrusive. Next up is innovation. For us, it gets a 4 because Torqeedo.
That said, yes, it's very similar to your Torqeedo. Torqeedo does use a proprietary battery, which is one of the big noticeable differences versus with Newport, you can get any of your 24 or 36 volt batteries for yourself.
And that's why their batteries are phenomenal. So this is the Newport battery. The reason they're getting a 4 is because of the battery situation and because it's awesome and it works really well. But innovation-wise, is true as far as true innovations. You know, there's not a ton there, but everything works really well. We're going to get to that in a second, but that's why I got a 4 instead of 5. So really high score, just not the 5.
So here is the 24 versus the 36 volt. So again, if you're looking at, should I get the 180 Pro? You get the 24 volt with that, or should I get the 300? You got to get a 36 volt.
How I would think about the NK180 versus the 300 is the NK300, you're thinking full power, big weight. When you think about 180 Pro, you're thinking about super efficient, super quiet, definitely long lasting, just not as much power. That's how I would think about it. So if you want the speed and the power and that matters to you and you don't care about weight, go with the 300. If you want something that still packs a big punch, but is much smaller, can be moved to a bunch of different kayaks, maybe that you own later on, has less battery weight, less size, and less cost, go with the 180 Pro. It is phenomenal. The next up is performance, 5 out of 5. Along with performance, let's talk about the speed that you can expect. So I've had this on a couple different kayaks. On my Crescent Light Tackle 2, I was able to get around 5.5. Pretty fast. That's a very lightweight kayak. With the new canoe U10, so the 10-foot version of the Unlimited, I got about the same speed. And then what's really nice is at the lower thrust, I'm able to really get fine-tuned control. So I can, you know, use a fraction of the battery versus the 100%. It is definitely faster than the Motorguide. I'll just say that right now. It is definitely faster on every kayak, noticeably. The Motorguide's still fast. This is faster. Last thing on performance, I will say, install-wise, the NK180 and the 300 are so easy to install. 4-bolt pattern, everything's really intuitive. You clamp it all. I did it. It took me an hour, and I got it right, everything the first time. So it's really, the install is very simple. So performance, it gets a 5. Let's move on to quality. Quality for us, it's 5. We kind of already talked about it. I mean,
any quality issue I could point to was actually an issue on me.
It's my fault.
With the install, because we are using the New Canoe Quick Connect. So that's not even relative to the Newport itself install setup.
That's this black part that's right up here. This does not come with it.
This is different.
Newport. But yeah, everything from the mounting brackets to the quality components of the motor to the just durability to speed to the way the control modules work and the quality of the components, even the mounting hardware is super high quality, and they're really intentional about all of that. So I've been really, really happy with it. And that also goes for the batteries. I would definitely rate those a 5 as well.
These are Bluetooth as well. And any battery Bluetooth app, it's always going to have like crappy app ratings.
Next one up is relative cost. In this case, it's relatively inexpensive. So it gets a 4. The only thing that's cheaper is this Bixpy with the small battery. So you get the 4. I really think it's an incredible value because it comes with almost everything. If
you shouldn't need anything else.
And you buy all their battery, you can save a little money if you go with your own. But in their whole ecosystem, $1,800 gets you fully motorized with everything you need to get rolling.
So the only things that you might need for this, number one would be a mounting bracket if you don't have the 4-bolt pattern already molded into your kayak.
And then
that's number one. Number two would be foot steering.
Foot steering, which is you can be very inexpensive. You can get down to like $50. You can get into a decent foot steering. You go up to about $150 depending on what you get.
Comes with this, Newport already sends you the steering triangle, so all you have to do is run the lines that they also provide for you. And you're going to need the foot pedals for steering, whichever you choose. There are many ones out there.
$1,800 gets you motorized and ready to rock. So your score is a 4, second least expensive. So that's a win. Your total score is 23, which gets you 92% out of the 25. So a really high score.
I think it's the highest score out of all of these. I'm cheating. I'm looking at
on the NK 180 Pro. The 300, we talked about the weight differential.
It's the same, but bigger. It's definitely bigger. The prop is a bigger diameter, so there is a noticeable difference in size and weight, especially with the battery too. So overall, here, we'll just run through this. For the NK300, aesthetics, it's the same score because it looks the same as good.
You get the 5.
5. The innovation is the same score. Same idea. And then we go to performance, it's a 5 because it's crushing it in the same way that the 180 is. What I want to throw in with the performance is the speed. Speed of the NK300, at least on the Unlimited, I've gotten it up to 6.5.
That is so flipping fast. It is fast. You are flying. The speed is insane. So if you want to go fast, this is the one. The next up was the quality. You also get a 5. No question there. So relative cost, it's just a math problem. It's within $200, so striking distance of the Xi3 and only $400 more than the NK180 Pro. So we're giving it a 3.
Like they're all in the same stratosphere of cost.
They're really close. And especially when we look at the relative price. If this was $800 more, we would have gone lower.
Right.
It's around 10% differential. That's pretty darn close. So what we're going to give you is you get the 3. Your total score is going to be 22, and that gives you an 88% out of the 100. That is dang good. So NK300 gets a pretty high score from us. That rounds us out we're looking at all 5, technically 4 different motors, a couple different configurations.
So that's it for this video, you guys. Hopefully this was really helpful for you. That's what we're intending to do. So if it was, let us know in the comments below. If you think that we need to change or tweak anything with our rating system, obviously let us know that as well. I think it's got potential.
I love it.
If you like it as is, great, thumbs up. If you don't like it as is, give us some pointers. Let us know what we should change on it. We'd love to have just a universal rating system that we could apply to anything we're reviewing here on the channel.
Baits, hats, boots, shirts, kayaks, missiles, whatever it is that you want to have rated, we want to have something that's that can work for that thing, whatever it is. So
that's going to help it from seeming to be just extremely subjective of like, this is amazing and this is not good. Like we want something in between so that we can just apply a score to it. And then like Paul was saying earlier, you can make your own educated decision based off of that. And with that said, we love you guys. Thanks for watching this video. You're super awesome, and we'll catch you on the next one. Okay, Paul, go. Bye.